Alright, I'm gonna get some hate for this. Okay, I see a lot of times online, especially on Reddit, there will be memes about Pong Krell, and the perception of him is clear. People hate him. Okay, I get it's a joke and whatever, but I see it randomly and unpromptedly. Just yada yada yada, something about like Chaotic Monday. And then the random F Pong Krell. Screw that guy. I hate Pong Krell. Repost this if you hate Pong Krell. Like he's a real person. Like he's not a fictional character. Like this isn't Karl Malone or someone who should be at least canceled. This is a Star Wars character. But when I was younger, I was right along with these people. When I was watching Clone Wars for like the fourth time, I was like, yeah, I hate Pong Krell. But now that I'm a little older and a little less wiser, I'm gonna say right now, Pong Krell is one of the best Star Wars characters ever made. Now, before you guys get out your pitchforks, of course, I love the File First. I mean, who doesn't? Fives is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, if not my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. Rex is my homie, and Hardcase's sacrifice may have made me cry once or twice in the past. But do you really think I would have bought 17 File First battle packs if I didn't love the boys in blue? Are you kidding me? But guys, Pong Krell is the perfect villain in the role he plays, and I said that last bit on purpose. When it comes to Star Wars fans and fans of cinema in general, we like to see the villain as this anti-hero or sympathetic character almost anytime we see one. While I say Star Wars did this before with Vader, I would say Thanos popularized and ingrained this ideology in fans of cinema, period. That's why I'm going to name this the Thanos effect. And this effect had a profound effect on fans of cinema and especially Star Wars in general. Vader, of course, the fallen hero who became dark because of a loved one. Dooku, former hero manipulated by an authority figure. Grievous's people were subjugated to horrors, and that drove Grievous to seek out replacements for his body to make him feel better, to the point where he couldn't even breathe anymore. And even Hex, Savage Opress, constantly being bent to someone else's will, and he didn't even have a choice on the type of life he was going to have after the trials he had against Ventress that was kind of thrusted upon him. Even people made to be pure evil, like Maul, end up having somewhat of a sympathetic story. No matter how much Maul tries, he just always fails. Or like how Loki was the forgotten brother to skip over universes, coming back to retroactively being a more sympathetic character and the anti-hero in his new TV show. The only person that was made to be pure evil because it's their moral code is Palpatine, and Maul still to an extent. I'm not saying writing a sympathetic villain is a bad way to write a story, and I love all the characters I mentioned. But it's not the only way to write a character. Like I just mentioned, the reason why fans love the sympathetic villain so much is that they have a relationship to the villain because they can see themselves in the villain. Like I said with the Grievous example, you see yourself as General Grievous because you probably have changed your bodies, or Dooku, or in some way you feel manipulated by someone who is older than you or has more power than you, whether it be a teacher or your parents. They don't do that with a person who is just pure evil like Palpatine. I mean, if you relate to Palpatine in some way, you should be watched by the government. I'm just going to say that. But as a person consuming the media, you are not supposed to agree with the person who was made to be pure evil. You are not supposed to agree with a person like Pong Krell because he is a villain. And that's why he's so great. The fact that we do not like him shows that he's doing an amazing job as a villain in the story he's trying to portray. With people like General Grievous, this role was supposed to be filled with a role of like terror and fear and disliking him because he kills the main characters or tries to kill the main characters and some of the people we fall in love with as time goes on. It kind of falls to the wayside because of how much General Grievous is treated like a coward. The only time we see a imposing and scary General Grievous is Star Wars Clone Wars from 2003. We don't really see Grievous as this big bad guy that he's supposed to be. Also, Krell is not romanticized like Darth Maul. This isn't to say that Maul isn't doing a good job in the role he's playing. On the contrary, people love Darth Maul because he has become a sympathetic character as time goes on. But that sympathetic character role does not really fit Pong Krell. His story is to be a bad person putting the clones in bad situations. Not only that, in universe he acts like a normal general in real life and also the Clone Wars. He's extremely by the books. All the Jedi we see care about the well-being of the clones and their lives and their names, and that's why they refer to them by their names and not numbers. But Krell just only sees them as lab creations, mirroring how the galaxy sees them, just made for war, no different than the battle droids we see on the opposing side. But it also mirrors how we saw the clones before the show itself came out. With the exception of like just Commander Cody, they were just CGI meat fodder that occasionally had a face. Besides some exceptions, Krell tactically made sense on some of the battles. The only problem is he put a lot of his clones' lives at stake, but if you're someone who doesn't care about the clones, that doesn't really matter. While Jesse and Fives and Hardcase did destroy the capital ship, they did directly disobeyed order and should have been court-martialed. Just because you do something right and the hero doesn't mean you should be celebrated. Example being, just because you did something heroic doesn't mean that was always the right thing to do or should be celebrated, or even directly means that you followed the rules. Here's a great example. You are an A student in the classroom, so you decided to help the D to C student, which is cheating, and depending on who you are, could have been the right thing. To you and that person you helped cheated, that is the right thing to do. But to the teacher, that is the wrong thing to do. Even though you outnumber right between wrong, still doesn't make it right. Rex did have this line when they were about to be executed. If this is how we treat heroics, then everyone in the army will have the same fate. Which under honorable leader is true. If you do something heroic, you should be celebrated. But under other circumstances, they would have been punished, court-martialed, or like we saw, executed. This is why narratively a bit of me finds it interesting, instead of having him a servant of Dooku, have him be the reality of what clones face under other Jedi we do not see, that doesn't see them as people, or how the people of the galaxy would have been a Jedi general, how they would have saw the clone troopers, which is just, again, meat fodder. Also, this would also highlight how much Anakin and also the other Jedi in the Order cared about their men, but I'm going to bring up Anakin because this is his legion, and of course he becomes Darth Vader. And have the army split on whether you should choose your life for yourself, and a life you did not choose but you got forced into, or follow direct orders blindly to a T from the people who created you in the first place. Finding identity, which this arc did touch on at the end of the last episode, at the end of the arc. Like, do this on some Detroit Becoming Human vibes. You know, having the clones choose whether or not they're just another number or another person in the galaxy just forced to do this. Also, this would show how far the Jedi have fallen from caring about the individual to only referring to the people they made to control, not even giving them the chance of calling them by the names that they want, only referring to them by the numbers, and punishing good acts by death. Narratively, it makes more sense though for him to be an evil person being manipulative to Captain Rex and Dogma. Some of the clones like Dogma blindly follow his orders, and which echoes again Order 66, where they have zero say in the orders that they are given. Plus the great scene at the end where the clones fight each other. That wouldn't have happened if Pong Krell was a good guy. Also having the internal struggle of whether or not Rex should have killed Krell wouldn't have been there if he was a Jedi, because then he would have been court-martialed as well. But also that itch of like a Jedi highlighting how far they have fallen kind of got itched by Barriss Offee. At the same time, she was just trying to make them woke again. At the same time, she was being evil. So that itch kind of got scratched by that Barriss. And with that being said, again, I realize that when people say they hate Pong Krell, they mean out of universe. This video is just trying to make a more realistic spin on something a little tongue-in-cheek. And honestly, I can talk about the bar arc for literally hours. Anyways, do that thing with the thumb. Hit that button if it's red. If it's gray, avoid it like the plague. Anyways, go watch Star Wars Resistance, or I will hunt you down like a dog.